Hocus Pocus is a beloved Halloween classic. Who doesn't love to watch the Sanderson sisters tear Salem apart? But even the most diehard fans haven't discovered all the movie's spooky secrets. These are the details of Hocus Pocus you missed, one candle, cat, and cauldron at a time. Timing is everything. As viewers learn right at the beginning of the film, the Sanderson sisters were hanged for witchcraft on October 31, 1693. The filmmakers no doubt chose that date because they wanted to make their return occur exactly 300 years after they died, and on an appropriately creepy holiday, Halloween, of course. It's a cool choice, but unfortunately one that makes the movie slightly anachronistic. The infamous Salem witch trials mostly took place in 1692, with the last trial taking place in May 1693. By October, no more witch trials were taking place. This isn't a huge problem, really. Hocus Pocus is already taking liberties with history, given the fact that the Sandersons are, well, actual witches.
Will you just stop that? I need to concentrate.
Sorry.
It's easy to believe townsfolk would have taken matters into their own hands upon being confronted with their powers. And anyway, the villagers hanged the sisters the morning after they sucked the life out of little Emily, so no real trial even occurred. Still, the film depends upon its association with the infamous Salem witch trials, despite taking place after they ended in reality. For a Disney movie aimed at kids, there sure is a whole lot of talk about virginity in Hocus Pocus. Watching Hocus Pocus as an adult, there's a definite ick factor when it comes to this conversation. Teenagers seem a lot younger once you're older than they are. It's also incredibly judgmental. Max's virginity is noted as a negative aspect of his personality. His lack of experience is constantly mocked, at one point even by an adult. His virginity, the movie makes clear, is something he should be embarrassed by. Teenage dudes of this era weren't supposed to be virgins, but of course teenage girls absolutely were, lest they be shamed. It's interesting then that when Max asks his crush Allison if she wants to light the black flame candle, she sheepishly declines. The Sanderson sisters can only be brought back by a virgin lighting the candle after all, suggesting something that flies right over kids' heads about Allison's experiences. At the beginning of the movie, after the Sanderson sisters have killed Emily and turned her brother, Thackeray Binks, into a black cat, the townsfolk rise up against the witches. Thackeray and Emily's dad ask the sisters what they've done with his son, but Winnie only says,
"Cat's got my tongue!"
It's at that point that the camera cuts to a black cat rubbing against Mr. Binks, trying to get his attention. But of course, Thackeray's dad doesn't realize that this cat is his son and kicks the cat away. It's a pretty sad moment, and naturally, fans have always wondered why Thackeray doesn't talk to his dad here the way he talks to Max, Danny, and Allison later in the movie. There are a few possibilities here. The most probable theory, however, is that Binks couldn't talk until the black flame candle was lit. After all, if he could have talked earlier, he would have said something instead of just pouncing on Max. The devil is in the details, and in this instance, the details are that real-world siblings play a married couple in Hocus Pocus. Dearly departed director and sometimes actor Gary Marshall plays some guy dressed up as Satan for Halloween that the Sanderson sisters mistake for being the actual devil himself. Naturally, when they make themselves at home in his Salem house, his wife gets a little jealous, especially when Satan starts dancing with the very sultry Sarah. Said wife is a hard-drinking, chain-smoking woman whose hair curlers convince the sisters that Satan has married Medusa. The wife isn't cowed by this, however, staunchly asking them,
"Are you broads a little old to be trick-or-treating?"
Satan's wife is actually played by the late great comedic actress and director Penny Marshall, Gary's sister. It's a little weird that a legendary brother and sister comedy duo played husband and wife in Hocus Pocus, but really, who better to channel the realities of an annoying spouse than an annoying sibling? In an effort to track down the kids while they hide in the cemetery, Winnie resurrects Billy Butcherson, an old flame. Superfans will know that this decaying ex is played by the incomparable Doug Jones, an actor whose physical abilities and character work have seen him portray some of the coolest movie characters ever put on screen. Notably, Hocus Pocus was actually one of the first films that Jones performed in, and he's clearly way more famous now than he was in 1993. In the intervening years, he's played multiple aliens in The Outer Limits, the lead gentleman in the iconic Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode Hush, the amphibious ape Sapien in Hellboy, the fawn in The Pale Man in Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth, the amphibian man in the Oscar-winning The Shape of Water, and Commander Saru on Star Trek Discovery. Jones's extensive career is filled with some of the most visually interesting characters of the past few decades, and his brilliance in Hocus Pocus helped kick off that career full of colorful characters. The Sanderson sisters sure are familiar with modernity for people who died 300 years prior. For example, Mary references cooking with margarine, when margarine wasn't actually invented until 1869. Mary also flies a vacuum cleaner instead of a broom, having stumbled upon one in the closet of the Sanderson house after her first broom was lost. This implies that she'd understand that a vacuum is something like a broom, only more advanced, which its design really wouldn't convey to someone from 1693. Winnie is also guilty of a few anachronisms that make her seem far too modern. First off, despite the fact that the three sisters are unfamiliar with paved roads, town buses, and any kind of automobile, Winnie flies up on her broom alongside Max's getaway car and asks to see his driver's permit, implying that she knows what one is, why he needs one, and how a cop would ask for one when pulling someone over. But Winnie's biggest modern insight is knowing the music and lyrics to Screamin' Jay Hawkins' 1956 hit I Put a Spell on You. Sure, they know magic, that could be a factor here. But let's be real, the movie needed an excuse for Bette Midler to sing, and really, we're not too mad about that. The Sanderson sisters are ultimately defeated, their bodies exploding in the light of the rising sun. As they didn't achieve their goal of sucking the life from a child before the sun came up on November 1st, all their previous curses are broken. This includes the one placed on Thackeray Binks, turning him into a cat for all eternity. Binks the cat doesn't just lie down anywhere to take his final rest, however. He purposely heads straight to his little sister's 300-year-old grave. It's a sad moment when Danny finds him lying there, but a tender tribute indeed to the girl he couldn't save. Binks no doubt regretted what happened to Emily for 300 long, lonely years. Being able to save Danny became his ultimate redemption. Thankfully, Binks' spirit gets to bid our heroes a final farewell and is ushered into the afterlife by Emily. All's well that ends well, even if it took 3 centuries for Binks to get there. Hey, remember the bullies Jay and Ice? Remember how they're just kind of left to die? When Max returns to the Sanderson sisters' house to save Danny and Binks, he finds that his tormentors have been captured by the witches. But instead of letting the guys out of their cages, even when they plead for help, Max just takes his stolen shoes back and leaves them there. Look, they're probably fine. Somebody probably came and got them after the Sanderson sisters were taken down. But when Max left them there, the witches were still alive and totally capable of sucking Jay and Ice's souls away. Not only did Max leave Jay and Ice to fend for themselves, leaving the two there could have allowed the Sanderson sisters to succeed. Being bullied is terrible, but of all the times to take one's revenge, this probably wasn't the best. At the end of Hocus Pocus, the Sanderson sisters are dead, Billy is back in his grave, and Binks has traveled to the afterlife to be with his sister. So all is well, right? Not so fast. The spellbook, as we can see in the closing credits of the movie, is still alive. Does it have a new master? Very possibly yes. Throughout the movie, Allison is drawn to the spellbook. She knows all about Salem's history after all, is a Sanderson sister expert, and as she tells Danny, is really into witches. She's also able to use magic, but only in small ways, like circles of salt. Still, she's adept to the point that Winnie calls her a clever little white witch. Is Allison in fact a white witch? She definitely has the potential to be. Even when the sisters are burned in the kiln, she knows that something didn't quite work, meaning they're all still in danger. Maybe a Hocus Pocus sequel could explore the idea of Allison going on to become a powerful white witch in her own right. Time will tell, as the Sanderson sisters know quite well. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.